For my 20 years of experience in human resources, CLDP is the best program that offers comprehensive yet understandable practices in learning and development. If you want to enhance more of your competencies, it is only CLDP.
As a human, we are often told to soar like an eagle, to aim high, to do something big. But nobody tells us how. I will tell you how. Is that easy? No, it's not. But it's not impossible. We want to have attitude like an eagle. But why? Because we see and we know eagles as a sign of power and ability and speed. So we need power, ability, speed, and vision, just like an eagle has. I'll tell you 6 things that eagles do, and you can do these things and apply in your own life to have an attitude like an eagle and to soar like an eagle. Write it down. Number 1, eagles fly alone. Those who fly solo have the strongest wings. So don't be afraid to fly alone, to walk alone. The reality is people will not understand your dreams and your vision. Even they will not support you. There will be some naysayers, some negative people. And if you tell them about your dreams, they will try to stop you. They will try to bring you down. They can't see the opportunity that you think you have. So you have to walk alone. You have to fly above the negativity. You have to start your journey alone.
Bagong video.
And if you learn to fly alone, to walk alone, touch the sky, you will never recognize what kind of power you have inside of you if you don't fly alone. But when you fly above everything, where nobody dares to go, you will meet some sky touch full of experience. You can share your dreams with them, and they will share their experience with you. So fly high and fly alone. Number 2, eagles love the storm. While all birds find shelter in the comfort zone during this rain and storms, all of the birds try to avoid rain and storm. But the eagle welcomes the rain and the storm. They are excited to go through the challenge. They love to fly high during the storm above the clouds. And in this way, they grow stronger and more powerful from the challenge in your life. Instead of running, welcome them and get excited about the challenge and hard times. Rather complaining or trying to avoid the challenge, run toward the challenge. That's how you can grow faster and stronger and powerful. Just remember, the more you face the challenge, the more you get opportunities, and the more you evolve dominant. Number 3, eagles always have the vision. Having excellent vision and concentration is most important thing to what you want. Eagles who only focuses on their goals, not on fear. After setting their target to hunt an animal, they make their vision so clear, and they only put their focus on that. They will not move their focus until they hunt it. In the same way, focus like a laser. Laser focus will limit your distraction and help you to achieve your goals. Those who concentrate one thing at a time advance in this world. So keep focus no matter what the obstacles are. Number 4, eagles don't eat dead or old things. You know, the other birds eat what they want, dead and old. Crow eats the garbage, but the eagles feed only fresh prey. As same as if you want to have an attitude like an eagle, don't waste your energy by stuck in the past. Because what's gone is gone, and what's done is done. You have to move on by living the past. You know, the 2 things that prevent us from happiness and success are number 1, living in the past, and another is observing others. An eagle never observes others and never live in the past. Number 5, The female eagles test the level of commitment when they meet male eagles. And this is the most important thing. Trust is important in relationships, in business, in professional life, or in private life. We must test the level of commitment of people we intend for partnerships. Number 6, eagles train hard. Every eagle, when the time comes for them to learn to fly, the mother eagles remove the comfort layers from the nest so the eaglet gets uncomfortable. And then she starts throwing eaglets out of the nest. She does it daily and repeatedly until the eaglets learn to fly, until they become fearless, grows stronger, and eventually they fly in the sky. So you must have to train hard and evacuate your comfort zone. There is nothing in the comfort zone. You have to face challenge every single day, and you have to go through hard times. And that's the way you evolve hard and stronger.
Alright, ayan. So, good afternoon everybody and welcome to the 4th episode of the show where we talk about anything and everything about L&D. This is the Trainers Lounge, presented by Circa Logica Group and CLDP Philippines. Alright, so for today's episode, it's about training cycle. So for all of our viewers there, sa mga L&D professionals po natin dyan na interested matuto pa when it comes to the training cycle, how to plan, how to execute, and also how to maintain a training program. Alright, so today we have a very special guest and he's here to talk with us in terms of, giving us an idea on how to do a training cycle, no? Pag sinabi nating cycle kasi it goes around. It's not just a one-time thing. And with that, let us introduce our guest for today. Alright, so we have Mr. June Del Ponso. He is currently the subject matter expert of the CLDP certification program here in the Philippines. And also, he is affiliated with Cytel Group and also with the Asian Institute of Management and PMAP, or Philippine Management Association of the Philippines. Ayan. And he is also a global training partner of Circa Logica Group. And currently, he is the HR lead consultant of Malampaya Exploration. Alright, let me welcome here on our show, Mr. June Del Ponso. Hello, partner! Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi partner, magandang gabi, hello. Magandang hapon sa iyo at sa ating mga nanonood.
Ayan,
Good afternoon.
Alright, Sir John, kamusta naman? Kamusta?
Okay naman partner. Well, Taal Volcano is erupting. Well, not really erupting yet, but showing signs, and the Malampaya project is ongoing. A bit of a challenge in there, but it's fun and all. Ikaw, kumusta ka na? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, I became sick ng kaunti. Very, very light. Yun nga, so last week wala tayong episode. But yan, thankfully gumaling naman. Hindi po COVID, don't worry everybody. Hindi naman po COVID. I had some problems with my kidneys, so medyo fatigue and bagsak talaga ako last week. And I apologize for all our viewers if we missed a week of the Trainers Lounge. By the way po pala, sa mga nakalimutan ko ding i-mention, our partner, Mr. June, is a first responder as well, right, Sir June?
Oo, one of my personal CSR kasi as you know, but for the benefit of our viewers today, I am very active in the search and rescue community, and that's the reason why I mentioned Taal kasi we've been preparing over the last couple of weeks since nagsimula siya ng signs of possible eruption, ano? Hopefully wag naman.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah.
We'll never know.
Well, yun nga, as I mentioned kanina, no, as a first responder, lagi namin pinag-usapan to actually whenever there are calamities or there are things na parang public health risk or safety risk, ganyan. Sir Jun, ang dami niyang alam and ang dami ko natututunan na, pwede palang gawin yun, gano'n. Anyways, so partner, today we're going to talk about the training cycle and you with your extensive experience of handling training programs with different companies, I think mabibigyan mo ng insight ang ating mga audience for today. Alright, so shall we get into it?
Sure, partner.
Alright. So ayun nga, partner, pag-usapan lang natin muna, let's start on the basis ng defining it first. So, pag sinabi ba nating training cycle, what is it all about?
So when we say training cycle, we talk about the whole gamut of learning and development, not just delivery of the training program. Kasi we should not fall into the trap of delivering training program because we want to deliver a training program.
Mm-hmm.
So in a nutshell, when we talk about the training cycle, everything begins with a need. Ano ba yung need ng organization? Ano ba yung need ng teams? Ano ba yung need ng department mo? Or ano yung need mo? As an example, if you want to learn, if you want to train yourself, ano ba yung mga needs, no? Once we're able to identify those needs, diba? But don't get me wrong, not all needs are training needs. Some needs can be addressed by something else aside from training. But let's say, for example, you're able to figure out na it is a training need. It can be addressed by training. Then your cycle has already begun. In a sense, you have identified the need. Once you're able to do your, sabi nga nila, there is the need assessment and there is the need or the training need analysis. You've done that already. You know what your needs are. Then you start thinking of how am I going to address that particular need. Alright? So that's your next step. At the back of your head, you're thinking about, ano ba ang ipapasok ko sa program na to? Ano ba yung end goal ko? Ano ba yung gusto kong ma-achieve? And your end goal should be hitting your need. It should be addressing the need. Yan. Once you're able to do that, then you start putting together your simple design. Alam mo na yung need, you know what the goals are or your objectives are. Then you start thinking about what will be the content of the program, and then after thinking about that, how am I going to deliver the program? How will it look like? What are the steps? How at the end of that, how am I going to evaluate? And based on the evaluation, how am I going to tweak the program para mas maging effective siya? Then the cycle continues.
Oo nga, oo. So, when it says, or when we say the cycle continues, hindi siya one-time, big-time thing, no?
No.
It's not a well, it is linear in a way, but since it is a cycle, you have to go back. There is a certain process nga naman when it comes to training cycle, no? There is a certain process wherein kailangan niyang bumalik at the start. It doesn't happen with just one linear process, ika nga.
Correct. And not every employer kasi or company ay lenient in the sense na after you run your program, kasi may investment yan not just money but time.
Oo.
So yung investment na yun, tatanungin ka, anong result niyan? That's where your evaluation comes, no? That's where your 4 levels of evaluation ni Kirkpatrick comes into play. And you should be able to show management that this training has produced 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 outcome, and it has impacted the business. Without that, the company, the management will ask you, if you didn't measure your program, how will we know if it was effective? And then, let's say for example, you measured it nga, and you found out na may mga kailangan kang i-tweak. Then the cycle continues. Then you improve your program. Para next run, it's better. Ika nga, no?
So, when you do the cycle again, actually, hindi lang din naman yung topics yung pwedeng magbago. Even the person itself, di ba? No? Pwedeng mag-iba din yung skills nila, pwedeng mag-iba yung needs nila for that time. So, that is why when you're creating a training program, you have to really consider or keep in mind that it's a cycle. Hindi siya matatapos lang basta-basta.
Correct.
Ayun.
Habang may need as long as there are training needs, the training cycle continues. Kasi there's a need, we must be able to address the need, and once we're able to do that, we evaluate the program and identify more needs, and then you do it again.
Ayan. Alright. Let's see here. So, we talked about the cycle. Siguro, let's now go into the steps into it, no? Like, the first step, you mentioned na ng konti, no? You have to identify the needs. Pero, sige, when we are doing this, or when you are creating a training program, planning, rather, what are the first steps, no? When you want to develop a training program?
Well, as I mentioned nga kanina, everything begins with a need. So normally the trigger for your training intervention are the needs of the organization. So normally the organization will do an org assessment. So they want to find out that if the situation, for example, is we're not hitting the productivity target, we are not hitting our bottom line. We are getting a lot of errors. There are a lot of rejects. We're losing money because of these things, as an example. Then the organization will look at the processes. Why is that so? Is it a person problem? Is it a skill problem? Or is it a process problem? So they'll all look at these problems. And lo and behold, you will be able to identify, okay, we learned based on our assessment that the problem is really coming from yung ating mga workers ay mga newbies, no? Kulang pa yung kanilang skill level. Kailangan nating pataasin. So that in itself is a training need. Di ba? So, bibigay sa'yo ng management yan. My dear training department, my dear training team, based on the org assessment, which you probably participated in, we figure out that the following are the causes of these problems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And items 1, 2, and 3 are skill problems. Therefore, we need your help. That's where the training person or the learning and development person comes into play. So, okay, it's a skill problem. Then he starts doing his training. Dalawa yan, isang assessment. Then the other one is analysis. Okay. So, we found out that the problem is 1, 2, 3 is a skill problem. All right. Then the training person now will start digging deeper. All right. If it's a skill problem, what are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, he should be able to identify those. And based on those that he has identified, then he starts putting together his, training objective or goals. What do I want to achieve? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ayun. And this is commonly referred to as the TNA as well, di ba?
Correct. So that's your training needs assessment.
Ayun.
And the other one is the training needs analysis.
Just to give our audience some deeper understanding between the two. Ano ba yung difference when we say analysis and assessment?
Very often, partner, when we say assessment, that's a bigger exercise. Kasi you look at the whole organization and you assess not just training needs but also other problems.
I see.
So once you're able to identify, like this example ko kanina, 1, 2, 3 are actually skill or knowledge problems, then that's the time we jump in and start doing our training needs analysis. We know it's a skill problem. What do we need to do as training people to address that need? Ayan.
Can you give us some ideas, partner, how to conduct, like, if ever you are or in your company, how do you usually conduct this? Ano yung mga unang steps? Do you do it by paper? Do you do it by interviews? Or any tips and tricks when conducting TNA?
Well, there are different approaches depending on the situation that you have. If you have a lot of time, ika nga mas flexible yung oras mo in the sense na hindi naman critical, hindi naman sensitive yung situation, Then you can do surveys.
Surveys.
Normally, marami ng survey na lumalabas ngayon. Dati, noong unang panahon, paper and pen lang yan eh. Tapos, ang survey lang na gagawin namin, maglalabas kami ng paper, mag-fill up sa employee, i-collate namin. Ngayon, madami ng tools available out there. Meron na Google Form, for example. Meron na yan. So, that's one way of doing it, the survey. There are other means of doing it. Like, for example, you can do FGDs. If you have time, but the sensitivity is high, my suggestion is instead of doing a survey, do an FGD or interviews kasi sensitivity is high. Ibig sabihin, when we talk about sensitivity is high, the impact to the organization could be significant. Or there are certain situations like ito very common ito, no? There is a problem not with the employee or not with the rank and file, but with the supervisor. So the employees are losing their motivation, they're not delivering their job properly, not because they don't know how to do it, but they're just not happy with the boss. Medyo very sensitive yan, diba? So if the sensitivity is high and you have some time, then do your FGDs and your interviews. If you don't have enough time, ika nga mabilisan, nagmamadali, and the sensitivity is is very high as well. I love doing what I call ambush interviews.
Ambush. Para nakakatakot naman yung partner. Paano ba yung ambush interview na yan?
Normally, naka-prepare na yung questions ko, and normally I select who I want to interview. You don't need to interview 100% of the population. A good representation should be okay. Siguro mga 60% should be okay if hindi naman ganun kadami, no? So normally, ang ginagawa ko dyan, ina-ambush ko yung mga leaders, lalo na kapag papunta sila sa UOC area, mag-i-snack sila.
Kaya tinawag na ambush.
Oo, ambushing ko sila, tatanungin ko sila 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Habang naglalakad sila, sumasagot, di may sagot na ako.
Ayun, oo nga naman. So it doesn't have to be a formal setting, ano.
Not always, not always.
Well, anyways, at the end of the day, I think you just need the information, di ba? Like,
correct.
It doesn't have to be na naka-sit down kayo sa isang conference room or you have to set a meeting. So, I think it's one of the daunting things kasi, no, when it comes to TNA, how to collect the data.
Yun lang. You know, partner, there was even a time naglagay ako ng whiteboard sa corridor. Kasi manufacturing hindi ko naman pwede batakin ng manufacturing people dahil nag-operation. So ang ginawa ko, naglagay ako ng mga whiteboard sa corridor, naka-post dun yung questions, and then merong yellow, yung stick-ons natin.
Yeah, post-its.
Kunin lang niya yung post-it, sagutin niya yung tanong, tok-tok-tok, post niya doon. Wala nang pangalan or anything. As long as alam ko kung anong level siya, anong department siya, yun lang ilalagay niya doon. Boom! Pagkakuha nun, ikukulitin ko lang yun. Edi, I have my answer. Of course, those are raw data. Raw data yan.
They still need to be, they have to be validated. Kailangan mo pang i-analyze yung teams nila no? Much like sa research kasi hindi naman basta-basta sinulat niya dyan. Well, yeah, I kinda get it. Pero that's a good strategy, no? Like if you are in a big population or you can't really have the luxury of pulling out your correspondence, I think that is a good strategy. Ambush interview. Ayan. So ayun. So once you have done your TNA, I think you'll have an idea of what the company needs, no? Whether it's individual employees or whether it is as a group or as a department, TNA will help you identify, okay, so itong team na to, kailangan nila ng ganitong training. I think that's the best data of information that you can get from TNA. So ayun, once we do TNA, basically that's the first step. Now, what do you usually do after that?
Ayan. So once you're able to gather your data, syempre you have to make sense of the data, diba? So normally I approach it two ways depending on the type of program I need to put together. Ideally kasi I should have identified already as early as even before doing TNA. Kasi some companies have a lot of competency dictionaries already defined per function. So ideally, kung meron silang ganon, di mas maganda kasi makakagawa ka na ng curriculum mo as ahead of time. However, not every company has that now, and you are facing a potential training issue, diba? So normally, from the results of the TNA, ano ba mga tinitingnan natin dyan? Inaalam natin kasi normally when you look at your TNA tools, normally those focuses on certain types of skills or knowledge areas. So sasagot sila doon. And then based on the responses, ano yung kukunin mo yung majority? Well, depending on your approach, no. Some people nag-averaging sila, some people kinukuha nila yung majority. It does have its pros and cons. In my case, if it's if I use yung averaging kasi, I may not be able to hit my target with a stone, no? Kasi syempre average nga eh. So I normally look at the high pointers or high scorers. If a lot of my respondents gave a high score on a particular question area, then that gives me a red flag. Ibig sabihin, this seems to be very common. So you have to make sense of your data. And based on that, without that sense, medyo maduduguin ka. So once you're able to figure out, it depends on how you approach it. Ako, I approach it that way. Kukunin ko yung majority of the respondents' comments. or
Okay.
scores. And then that's a red flag for me. Kasi kung hindi naman issue, hindi naman madaming magsasabi nun, di ba? So, in principle, yeah. So, if that's the case, then I get that. And I put it in my notes. Ako, mahilig kasi ako mag-doodle notes eh. Mahilig ako nung brain map.
Yeah. Like putting the information you could or you might use, di ba?
I just put it in there. Because is okay, I have findings 1, 2, 3 to 10. What are those? So ilalagay ko siya diyan sa aking mind map, no? Or doodle board as others call it. I still have my whiteboard in front of me from time to time. Nandun pa rin yung doodle board ko. Ayun. Kasi that helps me figure out the 5 W's and 1 H. The
What, where,
when, why, what if.
What if? Oh, bago yun.
What if? Kaya 5 W's.
5
And
W's.
the H is the how.
H, how. Ika, ayun, I see. Well, yeah, nung pumasok kasi ako sa training or sa corporate training industry, I can't help but compare it dun sa previous industry ko, which is academic teaching, no? So I was a senior high school teacher, and well, one of the things you mentioned, after mo ng TNA, you start developing your curriculum, no? With teaching kasi, you have a guide already. For example, I used to teach English for senior high school students. Meron na kaming guide agad from DepEd na what should we do? What are the targeted objectives, lessons, topics for the whole year? So ako, doon na ako nagbe-base ng curriculum ko. How will I deliver it? Yun na lang yung, yun na yung step ko eh. Yun na yung agarang step ko. With corporate training, ayun nga, napakalaking step talaga ng TNA muna. Kasi you cannot create a curriculum out of thin air. Hindi naman pwedeng sabihin ng management na, kailangan natin training, gawa kang curriculum. Bigla ka na lang gumawa ng curriculum, bigla ka na lang gumawa ng communications training, hindi naman kailangan ng employees mo, di ba? So, ayun one of the differences of nung dalawang industry ko, despite of them being both in the learning industry, is sa corporate, it's more of in the moment. It's more of analyzing talaga muna what your candidates need rather than just creating on your own. And hindi ka rin makapag-imbak no? Yung like, hindi, baka sakali next time kailangan nila lang ganitong training. Gagawa ko ng curriculum. Hindi rin siya ganun Hindi mo magagawa yun Ayan.
Normally, partner, you're in the academe kasi, going back dun sa ating two schools of thoughts pagdating sa learning, di ba? Yung ating adult learning and the child learning. So, normally, sa academe kasi, if you're, if you're going through your usual elementary, high school, and college days, very foundational siya. So, the curriculum has been designed for that purpose.
Yeah, I guess so. That is a part Ang dami, no? Ang dami sa planning. That is also one of the things you have to consider, na adults ang adults ang tinuturuan mo. And yes, you are in a classroom in a way, pero not all things about classroom teaching is applicable. Yun din yung na-experience ko when I transition into corporate training. So, ang dami. Sa planning phase pa lang talaga, mauubos na yung time mo if you're going to nitpick everything. You know?
And a lot of organizations think that training people can make miracles. Alam mo yun, we have a problem here. Can you do something? Can you run a training program next week?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Ano yan? Harry Potter? I have an elderly one that okay. That doesn't work that way.
Mahirap din sa mga CSR, like if you have a customer service team, di ba? Yung mga natin, hindi magaling sumagot, turuan mo. And then they would expect you to magically turn them, no? I mean, yes, as trainers, nandun tayo to plan and to execute trainings for them. But at the end of the day, sila pa rin naman ng magdidictate if magbabago yung performance nila or hindi.
Sure. And that's part of your training cycle, partner. Kasi once you're able to
medyo napa-advance sa dulo pa yan eh.
prepare your doodle map. Now you
nga.
have to start setting your objectives. What do I want to achieve? Diba? So papasok na dito yung ADI model natin na ginagamit.
ADI.
So we have done our assessment, our analysis. Okay. Now we have to the letter D, which is design. Diba? Ano yung objective natin? Ano yung gusto nating ma-achieve? Ano yung end goal, no? Ano yung general objective at ano yung specific objective natin?
This is still part of the planning phase, di ba?
Yes, kasi nagsiset up ka pa lang ng objectives mo. Normally, after planning, that's where the delivery comes to play. So, nasa planning stage ka pa rin.
In your experience, is it better to have different people manage these steps? Or okay lang na kung sino yung nag-TNA, siya na rin yung mag-develop?
Well, it really depends on the complexity of the need. There are needs kasi that can easily be addressed by the same or one person eh. However, there are more complex needs na hindi kaya ng HR or training lang. We need expertise from other individuals. So if that's the case, then it does make sense to get them involved sa design pa lang. Otherwise, baka may ma-miss tayo na importante. Because we're not really the expert on everything, no? I mean, training people, L&D people are very good at a lot of things, but we are not an expert on everything. Well, contrary to other people's belief.
Oo nga. I kind of felt that before din, no? Pero yun nga, it's not that easy din kasi, or it's not that quick to identify if kaya ba ng isang tao lang, no? Kasi if I remember correctly, when I was talking with Sir Jeff dati on our first episode, we talked about different structures then of an L&D department. Sometimes may mga department na one-man show.
Yeah.
Diba?
Dami yan.
Na siya na yung TNA, siya pa yung nagdi-design, and at the same time siya din mag-execute. So that's why I was asking you if is it better if in your team meron bang separate people for those steps?
Well, if you have the flexibility and the luxury, it makes sense to have program designers and developers. But like you said, some departments, some companies, one-man show talaga yan. So there's no one straight answer. It really depends on certain situations that you are in. But one thing I can assure you, a lot of our learning and development professionals can actually do these things kahit nag-iisa sila, but they still need help from the experts. Like for example, if it's a technical training, I don't think I'm an expert on that. So I need to get some other individuals involved. Kaya may mga group planning activities.
Alright. So ayan, so we've talked about TNA, We talked about designing, identifying the objectives. What's now the next step that we need to do?
Yeah, so you have your objectives already in place. Now, your objectives will actually be your measures towards the end when you evaluate your program.
Okay.
So, mamaya punta tayo dun sa evaluation. But keep in mind, kasi some people will ask me, well, have asked me questions like, so, okay, I've delivered my program. What am I going to evaluate? Well, you're going to evaluate the results of your program looking at your objectives. If your objective is at the end of the training program, the participants or the trainees will be able to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at blah, 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 blah percentage, depending on the standards that you wanna set, babalik ka dun. Na-meet ba nila yan? Nagawa ba nila yan? So, again, so after your training objectives, you know pretty much what you want to achieve. I guess the next step is really figuring out, okay, part of the D pa rin ang AD model natin, okay? Design. What do I want in there? Dito na papasok yung ating doodle boards. The what, the where, the when, the who, the what if.
I see.
And then later on, the how. So papasok na siya dyan kasi part of your doodle board is really the content. Makikita mo na sa doodle board mo, makikita mo na yung lalagay mo. You'll have an idea already. Now, not all materials are readily available. So maglalagay ka ng production time dyan. So magre-research ka ng konti or kukuha ka ng subject matter experts who can do that for you on a segment perhaps, mga ganon, para mas madali ang planning mo on the design. Ayun. Once you're able to figure out ano yung mga contents, now you have to decide paano ba siya isi-sequence? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is highly dependent on your audience. Part of your analysis or part of your preparation, no, is to look at your possible participants. Kasi baka naman yung laman ng program mo hindi naman relevant sa kanila. Kasi different people have different levels. Baka masyadong mababa or masyadong mataas. So you have to really analyze that. Kapag masyado siyang mataas and yung participant mo mga rank and file and hindi naman nila expertise yan, para ka lang nagbato ng bato sa isang ilog, no? Or kung yung mga participants mo naman ay high level or subject matter experts or experts na, and then nagbigay ka ng program that is much lesser than their expectation, then you'll have a lot of not so good smile sheet. Magiging frown sheet siya later on. So you have to think about your audience.
Ayun. And ang dami nang gagawin pero wala pa tayo sa execution itself.
Wala pa.
So what are the things pa na kino-consider mo, partner, when you're creating a training program? So besides doon sa target objectives, sa audience mo, sa needs nila, your materials, ano pa ba? Ano mga tips and tricks before executing the training program?
You have to consider your resources. Part of the resource consideration is ilang araw ba ang pwedeng ibigay sa'yo? Ilang oras ba? Or kung sabihin nila na, sige, you can have 3 days. Fine, that's good. That's heaven for us. Sabi nila, 2 hours a day lang eh. O sige, I will do a series. So, magdepende dun sa resources mo or what is available to you in terms of time. You'll have to map out you have to prepare your lesson plan based on that. So halimbawa, 2 oras lang, o sige, i-chop-chop ko ngayon yung aking lesson plan into 2 hours per day. So may impact 'yun sa design mo mismo, 'di ba? Sa development phase may design 'yan. So ano pa ba? You also have to consider budget. Minsan kasi kahit maliit yung program mo.
Sorry, natawa ako. Budget kasi ang hirap minsan pag-usapan.
Oo, at medyo madugo yan lalo na ngayong pandemya. Medyo, syempre, people are cutting down on cost, no? But even without the pandemic, in the past, talagang mahirap kumuha ng resources. But, though it is true that some companies are a little bit kuripot, I've also seen some learning and development professionals fail dun sa early part of their learning and development preparations. Kasi, again, it's coming from a need already identified by the organization. So, ibig sabihin, I have a need. I'm the CEO. I have a need. If you can give me a solution to that need, then I will fund you.
Oo.
But if we haven't done that, we cannot expect other CEOs of the world to say, okay, just run a training program. This is the money for you. So you have to do your homework. When you've done your homework, I'm yet to see an executive na nakita niya, oh, there's a need. Kasi that need is impacting my business. If I don't address it soon, I will bleed. Diba? So if so yung mga professional learning and development natin dyan, they will jump into that situation already and come up with their recommendations, their plans, and all that. Minsan kasi, some of us fail in that aspect. Kaya hindi tayo makakuha ng budget.
I see. Well, yeah, it's true. Mahirap kumuha ng budget kung ikaw mismo hindi ka prepared, you cannot present it. Ika nga. Probably, you have to also prepare for that instance na tatanungin ka. Kasi, I mean, yes, management, may pakialam naman talaga sila eh. But they just cannot go into the nitty-gritty of things ng mga bawat detail. So, as an L&D professional, whether you're the team head or the training officer, I think you all have to be aware of what you are doing, no? Para kapag tinanong ka sa budget or pag tinanong bakit kailangan ganitong budget, you can present your resources properly. No?
Correct.
You can lay them out properly. Yun. By the way, partner, before we continue, shout out lang tayo sa ating audience. Meron tayo dito galing kay Jeff Falogme. If you remember him from Batch 8. Ayan.
Of course!
So sabi niya, hi Sir June from Batch 8, Team #passionista. Ayan. Passion,
Yeah.
hindi po fashion, passion. When I remember them, no, sabi nila, their team are really passionate when it comes to L&D, kaya sila yung team passionista. So, shout out po sa ating viewer na si Mr. Jeff Palogme. Ayan. Alright, so partner, I think we've covered a substantial information about planning. Ngayon naman, I believe in your experience as well, nag-execute ka na rin ng training, no?
In the past, partner, medyo madami-dami na din.
Well, you as a training officer or someone who executes the training itself, ano yung mga tips mo when it comes to execution naman? So tapos na tayo sa planning, yung igagawin na siya.
Good question. So you have your babalik ako kay Adi. Mahilig kasi
Sige lang.
si Adi
Sure.
kasi very friendly eh.
Oo, napaka ano.
So you have assessed, you have designed, now you have to develop. So when you say develop, you have to figure out how am I going to deliver the training program in such a way na paano ba ito? Ano ba ang aking sequencing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So normally, pag ako nagde-deliver, everything considered, resources, I've done the TNA and everything. So whenever I start developing the program itself, I look at 3 stages. One is how am I going to open? How am I going to deliver the message? And how am I going to close? Ayan. So lahat umiikot doon. Kasi pagdating sa execution or the delivery itself, doon din iikot yung aking design, di ba? So, how am I going to open this particular learning session? So, I remember doing stress management course before, and syempre, stress management siya, and we talked about what some of the things that really causes stress. So, I opened that particular topic by presenting to them data saying, did you know that 40% of deaths of young urban professionals are due to stress? So lahat sila tingin sa akin, really? Then I showed the data. Here's a study, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Mahirap,
etc.
may empirical data ka pa eh, no?
Oo, these are the common causes. And I said, oh, young urban professional kami ah. Baka maano kami dyan, masama kami sa data na yan. Anong gagawin namin? Oh, di huli ko na sila.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Captured audience. Diba?
Hindi mo na kailangan you've already piqued their interest at that time.
Correct. So remember, adult learners, what's in it for me? So that's just an example. Of course, maraming openers dyan that you can use. Some people actually give shocking examples. Some actually start with a joke or something. You can open the session differently, but as much as possible, your opener should be your jump activity or yung tinatawag natin na prelude to your topic. Dapat related. I remember somebody attending a sales program. That was a long time ago when I was still young. I'm attending that particular sales program, and one of the sales manager of that company actually opened the kasi most of the sales folks are 100% male. So he started the session with a sexy picture in front of all of us, and at the end, I was like asking myself the question, what is the connect? So tinanong ko siya, ano yung connect nung sexy person doon sa ating first slide? I just wanna capture your attention kasi you're all guys. I was like, okay, I still don't get it, but okay, fine, sure. It looks nice though, but sure. Wala siyang connect, so hindi siya springboard. It should be a springboard to whatever it is you want to cover.
Mema lang.
Walang connect. Mema. Hindi namin alam yung term na yun noong panahon na yun.
Wala pa ako.
I guess it is what it is. Mema. Wala pa mema nun.
But yun nga, no? I think one of the challenges din, especially depende sa length of the training. I had an experience of conducting a communications training for 8 hours. The whole day. Ang hirap. It was a struggle, yes. Pero, yan, yung mga icebreakers yung piquing their interest. Sa akin, when it comes to teaching adults, I find it best to relate the topic to them. No? Minsan kasi yung mga yan, ang dami na nilang trabahong ginagawa, iniisip, they have their own task to fulfill. So, sometimes, hindi na uso sa kanila yung self-evaluation na sila yung makaka-understand nung mangyayari. It's best sometimes din, no, for us trainers to let the audience realize na this is what you're getting. This is why we're doing this. It might seem na mababaw, but ayun nga adult learning is different from child learning. So, ayun. And we can do that, no, through relating to them. Actually, kung minsan nga, specifically mo na siyang i-example as them no? Like, I remember during that time, kayo, ano yung mga experiences nyo that you've dealt with miscommunication? Ginagano ko na sila. Kasi if you keep on doing metaphors, if you keep on relating, pero hindi nila magets, walang mangyayari. Hindi nila ma-absorb.
If you notice, partner, dun sa ating CLDP program, most of the participants are, I'd say about 90% are actually trainers themselves, no?
Yeah.
And L&D professionals themselves. That's why instead of, although unavoidable, kasi nga certification course, kailangan nating i-feed yung information at some point, di ba? So that's why we still have the lectures. The design is talagang more interaction through the case studies, through the breakout rooms where they can share their experiences. Kasi nga, they've been there, they've done that. They have a lot of good practices out there, sharing and all that. That's why yung approach natin sa CLDP is that way. Kasi nga, our audience are really learning and development professionals already. Ayun. So, from there pa lang, since they wanted to share their best practices, there's already the what's in it for me in there. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of need, which is the highest one is yung self-actualization, di ba? So in this case, since they are practicing L&D over the years and they want to share that best practice to those that are medyo novices pa ng konti or nagsisimula pa lang, that is good fulfillment for them. The feeling that, hey, I'm able to share a best practice of mine and is able to learn from it and is able to use it. That in itself is self-actualization.
Ayun. Diba? So, yeah, things to consider din, no? Pag nag-execute tayo ng training program is that adults learn differently talaga. You have
Correct.
to show them what's in it for them. I think that's the best mindset to have when conducting training, rather than just focusing on the topic, ano yung magandang joke, ano yung magandang activity, but still you have a different kind of audience. And so nasa na ba tayo sa ADI model natin? So execution
Sa
na,
second letter D na
Ayun,
tayo.
oo.
So we talked about so nasa ano tayo, developing, no? So part of that development is the development of is developing the materials itself. Marami namang available materials out there, and we have different approaches, no? Different modalities that you can use. Well, we're doing the virtual session today and in the CLDP courses, but there are different approaches that you have to consider depending on the needs of your audience. Then you also have to consider, sabi nga natin kanina, being adult learners, you have to consider, how am I going to deliver the program in such a way that they will learn a lot from it? They will learn faster, they will be more comfortable. Diyan napapasok yung ating study ni Howard Gardner, no, on multiple intelligences. Different
Iba-ibang
people
style.
learn differently. So different learning styles yan. Some people are more kinesthetic, mas gusto nilang gumagalaw, no, as compared to others that are more auditory, mas gusto nilang
Nakikinig.
naririnig.
Oo.
So different people, different folks, different strokes. Now, if you can, as much as possible, apply, and you don't need to apply all the 8 intelligences there, no? If, as much as possible, if you can apply as many, depending on your audience types, then that makes your program a little bit more effective. Kasi mas nakaka-relate sila, mas nakaka-connect ka sa kanila, kasi they learn that way. Yun.
Ayun, alright. Well, yeah, oo. That's another theory to keep it. Ang daming theories to keep in mind, no? Pero yeah, different learners din talaga is a good way for you to well, i-design mo siya eh, pero ito yung mahirap din, partner, no? How do we cater to every multiple intelligence?
Exactly.
We've had that kind of problem before na ay may gusto nakikinig lang, may gusto nakikita lang, nanonood lang. So how do we cater? So I think that is a part of you as a trainer, no? Skill set mo na 'yan. Basically problema mo na 'yan. But yeah, there are other ways naman to siguro give variety on your delivery, no?
That's correct. So, different folks, different strokes, sabi nga natin. So, yung, ano yan, na-mention din natin kanina, you have to do your homework, di ba? Part of your homework is analyzing your audience. Nasabi na natin yan kanina. So, part of that analysis would be, how are they going, what are the things that I can do to help them learn faster? Now, there are, based on that particular theory, no, that study by Howard Gardner, you can actually research on that, and you'll be able to figure out, depending on age brackets, there are certain preferred learning style, no? There are certain, depending on the career or the work that you do. Merong preferred learning styles, no? There are, for example, architects, technical people prefer the other one, which is the numerical, and the other approaches, no? Different people have learned differently. So part of your study of your audience is that my audience are all executives, C-suite executives. Then from there, alam mo that the C-suite executives don't have much time to sit down and listen to you 8 hours a day. So how are you going to maximize their learning with given the short span of attention span nila?
Bite
So
size.
that's part of your analysis. Yes, bite size and straight to the point topics. Because ano is you can do your kickboard activities, but something that they can easily
Digest.
grab and relate to. Ayan.
Ayan. Alright, well yeah, okay. Thank you so much for giving us an idea, no, of what to expect. Actually, it's not an idea, but rather what to expect when executing the training program. So now let's go to the letter I. of the ADI model?
I and executing is pretty much similar kasi I is the implementation.
Implementation, ayun.
That's when you
yun
run
yun.
it.
So, napakadali lang naman. I think it's self-explanatory. Implementation is, well, you implement your training plan.
Program.
Ayun, or the
Kung ano
program.
yung pinlano mo, just deliver it based on
That's
your
it.
plan.
Now,
However,
sorry, sige,
there are
go.
some things to consider. Kasi syempre, in the implementation, papasok na dito yung tinatawag natin na butterflies in your stomach. Diba?
So, this is more of a personal struggle, no?
Oo, dito na papasok yung ating mga stage fright, dito na papasok yung ating mga ninenervyos ka dyan and all that. So, butterflies in your stomach. Well, a lot of learning and development professionals have gotten over those butterflies much earlier in their career. But others, talaga naman, ninenervyos talaga. I've seen people throw up before a class.
Well, yeah. Different people handle stress differently. Ika nga.
There was a saying, the brain is so wonderful that the brain is so great that it stops working. It starts working the day you are born, and it stops working when you face the public.
True. Yeah. I think kahit naman gano'n ka-confident, you would still feel, a bit of nervousness. Ako, advice ko lang, no? Kasi, di naman sa pagmamayabang, but during school days, I entered a lot of competitions na nakaharap sa public. Most of them are oral competitions, no? And I had a coach back then. If I'm not mistaken, it was around high school. It was the first time na lalaban ako ng extemporaneous speech. Yung bibigyan ka lang ng parang 5 minutes or 2 minutes to prepare. You don't have any prior knowledge of what the topic is all about. Pero hindi naman siya improv, no? Meron ka namang 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes to prepare. But yun nga, it was my first time joining that. And yung advice sa akin nung coach ko, I took it until naging teacher na ako and then naging trainer na ako. And he said na, if mamamatay ka sa gagawin mong ito, or rather, sorry, baliktad. If hindi ka naman mamamatay sa gagawin mong ito, bakit ka pa kakabahan?
Exactly.
If hindi ka naman papatayin ng audience kung nagkamali ka sa speech mo, if hindi ka naman nila kukuyugin after this ordeal, why would you waste your time para nervyusin? So I think I took that into heart up until I became a professional, no? Kung di rin naman ako mamamatay, bakit ako mahihiyang magkamali? Bakit ako mahihiyang mag-stumble with the things I say, di ba?
Correct.
Ikaw,
Tama
partner,
naman
ano yung mga usual tips mo when it comes to that?
Ako, to overcome the butterflies, prepare. The best way is to really prepare to the point na talagang you are a master of your materials. You know pretty much how it will go from A, B to Z. You have, remember the what if, the other W? That's where you try and predict possible issues, possible questions, possible loopholes in your materials, possible concerns. That's the what if is for. So, nagsisimula ka pa lang, piniprepare mo pa lang, iniisip mo na, what if this happens? What if a question like this is asked? Mga ganon. So, prepare. There's also another saying, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Yeah. I guess so.
So,
Alright.
kung komportable ka with your materials, again, don't get me wrong, yung first run is always the most difficult one.
No matter how much you prepare, you will feel that.
Wala. You will always have that. Even if you'll always have that feeling, that butterfly in your stomach, even if you're so prepared. Especially pag first run.
Oo nga. Yeah, I feel that. Alright, well, I guess we'll now move on to the last part ng ADI model, which is evaluation.
Correct.
Well, we've talked about evaluation dati with Sir Jester when we were talking about the importance of training.
Yeah.
And siguro ito na lang, what is the importance of of evaluation sa training program natin?
Well,
Refresher na lang siguro.
aside from the obvious one, which is really for you to be able to measure as to whether you were able to achieve the objective of your program. Siyempre, yun ang number one. Were you able to achieve the objective? That's why you do your evaluation. That's the first one. Although, ang ginagawa natin after the program, gumagawa tayo ng tinatawag natin na smile sheets or your program evaluation, which we do right after the program.
Right
Yun yung
after.
level 1 natin. Level 1. So we want to figure out, did they learn something? Excuse me, medyo mangangati ang aking throat. Did they learn something from the program? Were they able to understand? Were they able to remember? Were they able to, at the very least, practice and apply what they've learned during the training itself? No? So, di papasok na rin yan, masarap ba yung pagkain? Malamig ba yung aircon?
Yeah, but we laugh about it pero kasama siya no? Kasama yung environmental
Correct. Kasi you are in, there's a common pitfall. Lalo na kapag you're doing, ngayon kasi virtual tayo, but if you're doing face-to-face programs, one of the common pitfalls na nakita ko is that we leave the preparation or yung training room preparation sa ating mga, if you're running it in a hotel, we rely on the hotel staff to prepare the training room for us. Bibigyan lang natin ng instruction or yung ating mga admin folks or Johnnies sa ating office, sila magse-set up ng training room. And then pagdating natin sa umaga, ina-expect natin na naka-set up na. That's a common pitfall. Always check. Nangyari na sa akin yan before, no? I was running a program in Cebu, one of the big hotels in Cebu, for one beverage company. Ano naman ako, in-house trainer naman ako. Kaya lang, since I'm from Manila, I relied on the hotel. Ito yung instruction, ito yung layout, and everything else. Pinadala ko lahat, layout, ganito dapat ang itsura niya, etc. Okay naman, si banquet, okay naman. Okay, good. So, ang flight ko is early morning. Pagdating ko dun sa hotel, I checked in and went to the training room or the conference room. Lo and behold, dalawang mga bilog na tables ang nakalagay para siyang kasal. Sabi ko, this was not the instruction I gave. It turned out na yung shifting nila hindi nag-turn over. So talaga namang we had to redo the whole place in such a short time. Parang in less than an hour, pinaredo ko lahat yung place. Anyway, so those are just lessons I learned over there when it comes to preparing the kasi whether it's you or the hotel crew who prepared the training room or conference room, your participants will think it's your responsibility, which is your responsibility naman talaga.
Ayun. So besides the topic itself, we also have to be aware that the environment itself is part of the evaluation and it will reflect doon sa level of learning nila, level of enjoyment, or how much did they, put themselves into the training program itself. And
correct.
I think this will be my last question na rin, partner. For you, how do you measure if a training program is successful?
Well, there are multiple ways of measuring. Di ba, meron nga tayong Kirkpatrick's 1, 2, 3, 4, di ba? Levels of evaluation. Well, smile sheets definitely will give you some idea kasi may feedback dyan eh. Did you learn from the program? Would you recommend this program to your teammates and all that? So that gives you some information as to how the program was delivered among others. But the second level, which is yung ating back to work level, no? This is the time when you talk to your supervisors, the team leads on the floor, basically asking them or asking their help to help you evaluate whether yung participant that went through your program was able to apply. So kanina, impressions, smile sheets. This time at level 2, nagagamit ba nila? Naia-apply ba nila? Mga ganyan. Or kung gusto mo silang questionin, nasasagot ba nila yung mga tanong? Yan. So pagdating mo na sa third stage, ano ba ang impact nung kanilang ginagawa? Pagdating sa fourth stage, ano ba ang ROI o yung long-term effect ng program na ginawa mo? Now, assuming you go through the different stages of evaluation, you'll be able to say na, let's assume, for example, that the supervisor said, you know what, his performers have gone significantly high, yung errors niya are now much lesser among others, then that gives you a good indication that what you have taught him was learned,
effective.
no? And is being applied. Ayun. And then, you want to go higher, okay, over a period of time, let's say, sige, nagagawa niya yan. Over the next 2-3 months, babalikan ko. Consistent ba? Yes! As a matter of fact, yung stats niya have gone better. So, your supervisor should be able to give you that idea. Then that also is your justification to management to tell them that based on the evaluation, based on feedback of the supervisor, based on observation, among others, the training program was able to provide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would like to run another one with certain improvements based on our observation. We would like to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and add it to the program. So that pretty much completes your cycle in a way.
Bumalik ka na. Nakita mo na eh. Alright. Well, thank you so much for enlightening us with, basically the whole training cycle and mga tips from your experience. Ang dami mong matututunan with someone who has been there. Ika nga. Been there, done that. Pero I think on your end, marami ka pa rin namang things that you're trying to learn, di ba? Or trying to explore pa. And
Oo naman.
I think that's the beauty din naman eh. That's the beauty of teaching, no? It doesn't stop. If you are a teacher, you have to continue learning as well, no?
Correct. Learning is a lifetime experience. We don't stop learning just because we have reached a certain stage in our career, no? Or certain age. Ako, I'll have to be honest. I'm not as tech savvy as others are. So pinag-uusapan nga natin ito kanina, di ba? How are you doing all of this? Then sabi mo sa akin, merong SBS. Ano yun?
Well, it's never too late to learn naman. So, and I think that's an important thing to remember as well in our industry as training and professionals. Alright, well, those are all of our topics for today, Sir June, partner. Thank you so much. Pero, before I let you go, sa audience naman tayo this time. I think medyo may mga naghihintay ng ating mga kasagutan. Alright, let's start off with mga shoutout muna. Sige, Harvey Robles, pa-shoutout daw. Ayan, thank you so much, Harvey, for watching and tuning in sa ating program today. Harvey is a really good friend of mine. Ayan, so maraming salamat, pareng Harvey. Eto, meron tayong question, partner. From May Musni, she mentioned or she asked, what is the most challenging part of ADI?
TNA.
TNA pa rin.
I mean, once you're able to do your TNA, establish the need, and you're able to really go through the TNA process, the rest kasi, well, not really easy, but the rest follows. Kasi you know pretty much what the problem is, di ba? Through the TNA. Alam mo na siya eh. Then, it's like some of the things that we do in life. Once you're able to identify what the root cause or what the problem really is, then you'll be able to address it. Same sa training cycle. TNA remains to be the toughest kasi you really have to dig. Kailangang ilabas mo talaga yan, earth mo talaga. Ano ba talaga yung problema? If you don't, baka you're shooting from the hip, so to speak. Diba?
Yeah.
Hindi mo siya nai-hit.
Hindi mo makukuha yung target mo talaga. Kasi bigla ka na lang nagpa-training.
Some people think evaluation is the toughest. No. Evaluation kasi, remember, your objectives, yun yung target mo.
Yun
so,
eh.
i-measure mo
may
lang
reference
siya.
Ka na.
Kung na-meet mo yung objective mo, then you have, you have information there. But to really dig what the problem is, that's really the toughest one. I'd like to think from my end.
Ayun po. So, May, I hope Mr. June was able to enlighten you on alin ang pinakamahirap, which is the most difficult part of ADI. Ayan. Next, we have here from Mr. Nigel Almosera. On a management level daw, how do you convince managers? Parang alam ko na to. How do you convince managers or leaders that they are incompetent? in this specific area. Specific area naman hindi naman nasa whole. Without
Okay.
offending them. Ayun. So, may mga leaders daw kasi na egotistic or if you require them, let's say to get a training sa leadership, sasabihin nila, we already know that. Ayun, no? As they believe they are already a good leader. So, ayan. Wag na siguro nating specify yung gano'n. Pero, how do we convince people na ayaw magpa-training?
So, siguro to answer that question, I came up with a program before. The title of the program is Si Bossing Magaling.
Parang medyo
Actually,
condescending naman partner yun
The program is a supervisory development program. So, at the end of the program, one of my objective, ang broad objective naman ito, at the end of the program, si Bossing dapat magaling. But that's a good question, and that's probably one of the difficult challenges we face on a regular basis as learning and development professional. Self-realization is not always easy, right? That's why it's very important that training does not operate in isolation, which we cannot. We simply cannot. No, that's why you have a lot of tools available for you out there, not just from training, but also from HR and other department. Some companies have their annual employee satisfaction surveys. They have
Performance
they have
review.
different means. So they have means of getting feedback from employees. So you have data in there. Pick those up. And if you're looking at putting together a leadership program, those data actually will speak for itself. Based on the latest employee satisfaction survey, these were the results. According to the feedback, these were the behaviors that are being seen by the employees as not just negative but causing demoralization, etc., etc. So sasabihin nila, hindi ako yan. Wala namang tatanggap
Defensive pa.
minsan. Defensive yung
pa.
iba eh. Hindi ako yan. So, data speaks for itself. Right?
So
when you
it's
look at
best to
data,
it's best to present with the data, no?
present data as much as possible, and then you dig the data further. I remember doing something like that with one BPO I work with. We have our ENPS survey on an annual basis, and part of the ENPS survey are actually responses of employees, and I have an idea as to who the leader is kasi ina-identify which department they are in. So, masi-zero-in mo siya, di ba? Extrapolate mo lang yan. Oh, Department A pala itong 10 empleyado that are saying this. So, I at the back of my head and part of my data, I know pretty much who that manager is. Now, am I gonna put it in front of his face saying, it's you they're talking about? Siyempre, hindi naman. Hindi na shoot down tayo agad, no? So, I will present data in a more generic manner. I will present the feedback that I've gotten from those particular surveys and validation and FGDs, among others. That should help you convince them. Now, still, despite data, some will say, I don't want to. I guess that's where the what's in it for me comes into play. What else can your program give them aside from what they think they already possess? Diba? What else is in there? That's the challenge of the designers and developers now. Nag-attend na ako ng leadership program 3 years ago eh. Alright, so if I'm going to deliver another one, what will make it any different from 3 years ago? So that's a challenge for us. Diba?
I see. Alright.
So it has to be something that they will gain something from.
Again, at the end of the day, the candidates should realize what's in it for them. Ika nga.
But don't get me wrong, that's a tough situation. It's
Management
a very tough situation.
Management na eh. Alright.
Unless you get the CEO to to impose. I did that before.
Oh.
I did that before.
Lumapit sa boss.
I asked the CEO, can you impose employee discipline program for our managers? Kasi ang dami kong grievances eh. Ni-strikean ako ng union eh. Hindi marunong mag-handle eh. Ayaw mag-participate ng mga managers.
Ayan
CEO, boss, kailangan ko tulong mo.
Ayun.
Thank you. It worked.
Wala na sila say doon. Si CEO na yun.
Walang say.
Oo nga. Ayun.
The
I
thing
see.
is, during the program itself, they realized that, ang problema ng mga employees ganito, pwede ko naman pala siyang i-address this way. I didn't know that. So, yun. So, they eventually, sa umpisa, marami akong mga vacationers. Tsaka hecklers. But later on, pagdating sa case studies, they realize, I can do that pala. Pwede pala yun. Ayun. So,
Yan yung mahirap no? Pag well, it's fulfilling Parang you prove them wrong na kailangan nila tong training. But yeah, the resistance is there.
Eventually, they'll come to you. June, can you help me with this? Doon sa training natin ganyan, I have a situation. Can you help me with this? Can you coach me, advise me on that? Which is a good thing eventually. Pero challenge sa umpisa kasi galit sila sa akin lahat.
Ayun lang, Alright, well, thank you so much for that, Sir June, partner. And Nigel, I hope medyo na-enlighten ka on how to approach these kinds of situations. So, I think, yun nga, sabi Sir June, provide with data. Mas maganda if you can present with data. And if needed, hingi ng tulong with higher-ups.
Call for help.
Alright, well, that's all for today's episode. The partner, maraming salamat ulit for sharing your knowledge in terms of the training cycle. Sa ating mga audience, thank you so much po for tuning in and giving us questions para mas lalo pang ma-discuss ng maayos itong topic na to. Alright, partner, before you go, anything you want to promote? How can they connect with you? Things they can expect or abangan sa'yo?
Ayan, thank you so much, partner. Well, currently kasi medyo limited ang public appearances. Para artista, no? Medyo limited ang aking public engagement aside from CLDP because of the projects that I have. Medyo malaki-laki rin yung projects kasi. But we do have the community service that we do. If you are in need of ambulance services, we have the SOAR ambulance service or the Special Operations Assistance and Rescue. It's a private business, but more often 80% very CSR. So whatever profit we get from that, we also give it back to the society kasi we started talaga as a search and rescue team and ayaw naming umalis doon. And there's also the SOAR Training Center. And we offer training programs as required by DOLE, particularly yung ating first aid and BLS training. We offer that. So if you have a need for that, do reach out. And we are accredited by the DOH, so accepted siya ni DOLE. So if you need help, let us know. We can deliver those training programs from you. Our standard is ASHI standard or American Safety and Health Standards. That's what we follow.
Yan. So they can they search you for can they search you on Facebook?
Yeah, you can find me in almost every social media forums. You can find me on Facebook, June Del Ponso. You can find me there easily. If you want to find the ambulance and the training center, just type in SOAR ambulance or SOAR training. You can find us there or check out our website www.soarems.com and you'll find more information there.
Alright, ayun. So sa mga naghahanap po or in need ng training or need talaga ng help, you can approach Sir June's team, SOAR, and they will take care of you. Ayan. Alright, partner. That's all for tonight. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good time chatting with us tonight, and stay safe and see you soon sa ating batch 9.
Alright.
Well, that's all for me. Thank you so much, partner. Ingat lagi. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Alright, ayun. So, that was our guest for today, Mr. June Delfonso. I hope everyone was able to tune in and, learn from Sir June on what to do when it comes to conducting a training cycle. Always remember that planning is a big part of conducting a training program. No? Hindi porket gusto mo siyang gawin, hindi porket you need the training you'll execute it. There are a lot of steps, and one of the, we always recommend the ADDIE model. So it's a good way, or it's a good place to start on paano ba gawin ang isang training program. It will give you a step-by-step guide. So from the start to finish, ano ba dapat kong gawin? Alright? Alright, well, that's it for this episode of Trainers Lounge. I hope to see you all next week. Don't forget to follow us, to like our page, and also to subscribe in our YouTube channel. You can check us on Facebook. You can check our pages, CLDP Philippines, and also Circle Logica Group. We are also in Facebook, in YouTube. We upload our videos here, or our episodes here at the Trainers Lounge. Afterwards, makikita nyo po naka-upload na sila sa aming Circle Logica Group YouTube channel. Alright, that's all for me, and I hope to see you again next week in the show where we talk about anything and everything about L&D. This is Trainers Lounge. I'm Kevin. See you next week. Have a good night. Stay safe.
For my 20 years of experience in human resources, CLDP is the best program that offers comprehensive yet understandable practices in learning and development. If you want to enhance more of your competencies, it is only CLDP.